We've been talking a lot lately about relationships. We have been talking a lot lately about radical self-acceptance and relationships, intimate relationships, relationships with your friends, relationships with your family members, healthy relationships. We have been talking about relationships so much lately in radical self-acceptance that the messages I get and the phone calls and the text messages that I get are phenomenal questions that are very difficult to answer in like one quick sitting. Radical self-acceptance is accepting yourself completely, unconditionally, without any limitations, and setting boundaries that keep toxic individuals and toxic relationships away from you. What does that look like? Are questions I get. And how do I know I'm radically accepting myself? And what's the real definition of radical self-acceptance? And how am I supposed to decide what relationships are good for me and what relationships are not good for me? These questions are phenomenal, and they're honest, and they're true because about 97% of us as children we were never taught what good, healthy relationships look like. We weren't talked to about quality versus quantity. I remember coming here when I was 10 years old from Spain and not having any real connections with anybody. And all my connections were all my good friends in Spain. And when I go back, it's like going back to a time where we all played Barbies together, or where we all fought over what movies we were going to watch. These connections that you have with people in your lives should be connections that make you feel good, that are not struggling. You're not struggling to be connected to these people. Radical self-acceptance, accepting who you are exactly as you are, takes a lot of time of detachment from old programming and detachment from old expectations. Majority of us don't understand what real good relationships look like. We think that relationships are supposed to be hectic, are supposed to be toxic, are supposed to be one-sided. And what I mean by that is, you can have a friend from high school that you were super close with, that you did a lot of things with, that the person has been there for you throughout the bad and throughout the good. And your connection with them doesn't feel uncomfortable. It feels flowing. You guys disconnect once in a while and reconnect once in a while. You're there for one another when you need to have a shoulder to lean on, or when you just want to meet somebody for coffee. Those relationships are relationships that are amazing because you don't feel uncomfortable in those relationships. The relationships that are toxic are the ones that you give a lot into. You give so much time and energy into these relationships and you get nothing back from them. People that make excuses such as they don't have time. People that make excuses that say they have a busy schedule at work. People that make excuses that they can't text you back because they forget to text you back. People that will randomly text you once in a while just to be like, hey, I miss you, but don't make an effort to actually be there for you. People that are in your lives that you give everything for, that you are there for them when they have really terrible breakups with their boyfriends, or they have really bad moments with their family members. And when it's your turn to have this sort of hectic life, because we all have it, or these moments of mourning, these people in your life that you're there for all the time somehow seem to disappear. But you continue going back to these people because you don't understand the difference between toxic relationships and standing in yourself, in your center, and your radical self-acceptance. Because we, as a community, as the human race, we thrive when we're connected to these human beings, connected to any human beings, really. We thrive and we are healthier and happier when we have these incredible soul connections with these people. But we don't know what these soul connections look like, and we don't know what these healthy relationships look like because we were never taught these things. Majority of us come from backgrounds of just settling for whoever looked our way because we were different, because we weren't like them. And we settle for these judgmental human beings that use and abuse us because we don't know the difference. And now, this is the hardest part. The hardest part is to completely pull out from outside Distractions. Going within. Disconnecting from people that don't care about us. And the reason why it's the hardest is because it's a very lonely road. But we can either continue with these toxic relationships, intimate and friends and family members, where we're always trying to prove that we are worthy of their attention, where we're always trying to prove that we are the best of friends, when we're always trying to prove that we are worthy of a relationship, but they're not putting any effort into it because they're too busy within their own realm, within their own life, within their own issues. And they become unhealthy, these connections. So it's hard to step away from friends that you think are there for you all the time, but actually are not. They're just using you when they need to use you. Or relationships, partners. But I guarantee you, and this has happened to me very recently with 2 people in my life that I was holding on to so tightly. And it happens to us throughout our lives, but we don't notice it unless we pull away from outside distractions and go within. And find this radical self-acceptance through healing work and time that we take away from this distraction. The universe will give you signs within your somatic body where you are uncomfortable around these people, when you're uncomfortable around this environment, when you're uncomfortable around any situation, you will feel it in your body. You will leave this situation, you leave the person, you go home, and something about that particular moment in time or something they said or something that the person around them said, it makes you uncomfortable, makes you uneasy. It sits in your body, in your chest and in your belly, and sometimes you get headaches after hanging out with these particular people because they make you this uncomfortable. And the universe will continue to bring you these signs that you have to separate yourself from this person, that you have to pull away from this person. You're already uncomfortable. You might as well sit with your uncomfortable by yourself instead of continuing to increase how uncomfortable you are around these fucking people. The universe will make you so uncomfortable at one point where it will throw the biggest wrench into your reality. Well, you'll have no choice but to move away from these situations and from these people. You will have no choice but to radically accept your uncomfortableness without these people. Another question that I got was, how do you know they're toxic for you? Or how can you recognize who is a toxic relationship? And how can you recognize if they're bad for you? Because if I list the reasons that these people are bad for me, then I end up with nobody and then I end up alone. Well, honestly, you're never really alone. You're just with the wrong company. There are millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of human beings out there outside of your little bubble that you've been living in so long. But the only way to get to those people, because you're telling the universe it's okay to be with these bullshit relationships and these abusive human beings that just use you and abuse you. But if you tell the universe you don't want to be with these people anymore and you'd rather just be uncomfortable by yourself, your incredible group of human beings, and I guarantee this, randomly shows up. These people that do things because they want to, not because they expect anything in return. And that's who you are. You are the human being that does things for other people. Then you don't expect anything in return because you're a giving, caring human being. And there are giving, caring human beings out there that check on you randomly, just like you check on your friends. That love you unconditionally no matter what happens. That understand that human experience is human experience. When you get bad news, sometimes you can't handle it because you're overtired. You're overstimulated. So you break down. And there are fucking people out there that will work 24 hours straight. I know this because I have a couple of them that are fucking phenomenal human beings that just have arrived in my life. 24 hours straight without any fucking sleep. And they will show up at your stoop to hold you, because you're having a really hard time dealing with your life by yourself. Because there's no shame in being an adult and breaking down, because being a human being is very difficult. How do you get to radical self-acceptance? You disconnect from these motherfuckers and you connect to yourself. How do you connect to yourself? Well, you say no to hanging out with these people and it hurts. And then you sit in silence. And then you find yourself a partner healer, a Reiki practitioner, EMDR therapist, a meditation guide. And you do the work. And you commit to yourself 100%. Not only that, but there's a lot happening. I don't know if you're keeping up with the news, but no matter what the politicians are coming in through here, they are trying to literally control your free will and your freedom by injecting fear into the population, and until you get clear and grounded and in your radical self-acceptance, these motherfuckers will control your life. And I'm telling you right now, that is some bull. So get clear. I can do it. You can do it. I'm not any stronger or any better than you are. I just was pushed to such a limit, to such a direction from the universe, that I either continued living in fear and attachment in these toxic relationships, or I moved towards love for myself and for others through radical self-acceptance. So through all these bullshit times and through all these bullshit relationships, the only thing that you can possibly do to reach the healthiest, happiest time of your life is by stepping away from these people, stepping into yourself, and taking time to heal and love yourself unconditionally, because your tribe will come. And this is part 2. Part 1 is on YouTube. I'm going to save this also on YouTube, and hopefully I can put a link on here. But I love you guys unconditionally. Deep breaths. Meditation is key. I love you, and healing. Bye, guys.